It is 6:02. I will call to order the special session of the Amity City Council on August 19th, 2026. Let's start the evening with the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Tasha, will you take roll first, please?
Present.
Here.
Rachel Blanco.
Here.
Chad Luker.
Here.
Caleb Shields.
Here.
Alice Thompson. Here. Mayor Rachel King.
Here. Thank you. All present and accounted for. We'll start the evening with citizen comments and questions. This is an opportunity to present items not on the regular agenda. Please state your name and address and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Do we have anyone in the audience this evening? Seeing none and no one extra online. Okay. We'll move down to old business, of which we have none. And we will start the evening's business with a public hearing. What order do we want to do this? Presentation, discussion, and then hold the public hearing, or should I open the public hearing?
Do we want presentation in the public hearing? Or see, I'm not sure it matters too much either way. Whether you want to do the presentation, have Mark present real quick, and then enter the public hearing for any public comments, or
I feel like that would be helpful. Not that we have a large audience, but if we hear the information, then open the public hearing on the subject.
yeah,
Have our discussion. Yeah. So please, if you could provide a little bit of background and introduce our guest.
yes, thank you. The city is, or the Housing Authority of Yamhill County recently reached out to the city of Amity to see if we would be interested in putting together a community development block grant, or CDBG grant application, specifically for a housing rehabilitation project within the city of Amity. That would basically apply for funds up to $500,000 to be used to provide grants to low-income households and homeowners throughout the city, and basically help them with needed repairs or replacement of roofs. You know, some of those key items to keeping your house in decent shape and not broken down, and really focused on livability, not necessarily luxury, but keeping things livable and safe and habitable for the residents, so whatever their needs may be. I know sometimes it covers like handicap or wheelchair ramps, things that may make it more accessible for disabled users or people with extra needs. And yeah, I've invited Mark Irving from the Housing Authority of Yamhill County to basically come this evening and help answer any questions. He's a lot more knowledgeable than I am. He's done many of these kinds of projects in other communities in the past. And so I invited him to come and share any information, a quick presentation, and answer any initial questions.
Thank you.
You gotta hold it. Yeah. There you go.
Thank you for having me here today, Mayor, City Council members. I appreciate the opportunity, and Nathan for the invite.
You don't have to push it. Well, no, sorry, push it and hold it.
Okay,
Now.
how's that?
Yeah.
Hello, testing.
There we go.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. My name is Mark Irving. I'm with the Yamhill County Affordable Housing Corporation. Mayor and council members, thank you for having me here this evening. I'm here to give a quick presentation and answer any questions that you might have about a proposed community development grant program.
Oh, sorry.
Next slide. Thank you. And one more. So we are the 501c3 arm, if you will, of the Housing Authority. We're actually the Yamhill County Affordable Housing Corporation, and we're under the umbrella of Yamhill or Housing Authority of Yamhill County. We offer housing rehabilitation grant programs. We also have a loan program and housing resources that for low-income homeowners throughout the county. We're going to specifically talk about the grant program, which is what we're here to kind of make a decision on, proposal on. Go ahead. Thank you. So we've done quite a number of grant programs in the past, starting all the way back to the corporation was actually founded in 2001. These are just some of our most recent grants that we've successfully completed. Most recent was a Newburgh Housing Rehabilitation Grant from some community excise tax money that was collected. We made the application and received funds for that and distributed it to households who are low-income homeowners in Newburgh to help them do safety, structural accessibility repairs. There's quite a list of them there. We've done several of the community development block grants. Generally speaking, they've been only with Newburgh and McMinnville, and that's why I reached out to the smaller, more rural communities throughout Yamhill County to say, hey, let's get you guys an opportunity if you want to. And that's what led us to today. Current grants we're running right now is the McMinnville CDBG. We're about 18 months into that one, and it's going along real well. We're about 60% distributed on that and 100% obligated on that plan. The Oregon Healthy Homes Grant, some of you may have heard of that before. It's very similar, only it allows a little bit more flexibility and freedom as to who we serve and some of the limitations. The Community Development Block Grant puts some limitations on the people who we can service. And the Oregon Healthy Homes, the reason we applied for that is because it's more flexible. The Veterans Restore Health and Safety Grant, I'm pretty stoked about that one. It helps military families who have an honorable discharge, who are homeowners in the county, do the same repairs as we might see happen if we do this Amity CDBG. It is specifically for honorable discharge veterans or military families who are receiving some form of VA benefit. They can also apply with the same income limits. But again, it comes with certain restrictions that it would not include a ton of people. We have 35 people on that list, and that's not going to be enough. So we'll get some more and get that one closed out. We're about 12 months into that one, and we're doing real well on that one too. So next slide. I think we've mentioned it, repair health, safety, structural, and accessibility issues. Go ahead, Nathan. We can do roof replacements, which is oftentimes required by insurance these days. If the insurance says you got a bad roof, you got to replace the roof or you don't get your insurance anymore. And then things kind of slide downhill for people after that because their mortgage might not, they might get a really expensive insurance on top of their mortgage bill. And for those low-income families who are just have their house paid off and can't do a roof, this is an opportunity to get it fixed. More roof pictures. We do all kinds of roofs, manufactured homes of a certain age. 78 or newer is what the community development block grant would allow on manufactured homes in a park. We do site built, we do duplexes, as long as they're living in at least 50% of the duplex. So it's pretty flexible in that aspect. Next. And the big one is the walk-in showers. If I am an owner, an elderly owner, and can't step over, or somebody with a disability that can't step over an existing tub, presents a huge challenge. And not only a trip and fall hazard, but also I just can't really take a shower. And so we've done a number of accessible showers. And the people who get them, I can talk for a half hour on that and how they feel and their life is changed. Next one. We also do a lot of windows, ton of windows. Next one. A big one is ramps and stairways and decks, trip hazards again, rotted decks, rotted porches, any kind of accessibility issues. We do a lot of that kind of work. Okay. HVAC systems is becoming a bigger part of what we do because of a little bit hotter summers. I mean, it's getting hotter and it's, some of the age of some of these replacements that we're doing, they're existing from the 70s. They've lasted a long time. They've just seen their life. We're doing heat pumps, we're doing furnaces, we're doing the combination air handler and heat pumps, mini splits, all kinds of different HVAC system. We can repair them if it's justifiable. If they're so old that they just need to be taken out and thrown away and put a new one in there. We use high energy efficiency with a 10-year limit, at least a 10-year warranty on the parts. So it makes a good option for that. Next one. Plumbing again, if you want statistics, we can follow up with that at some point, but plumbing is probably 35% of what we do. There's a lot of bad plumbing out there, especially in the older homes with the galvanized pipes. The waste lines, same thing. They got the old cast iron or the tar paper kind of wrap stuff. I don't know what you call that, but they're failing. Last year we did a sewer repair for somebody and she sent me a picture and I was like, okay, I'll be over tomorrow. It was that bad. And when the plumbing goes bad, I had a case with one of the next slide, I think maybe. No. So I had a situation with plumbing where the lady has been carrying 5-gallon buckets from her neighbor to flush her toilet and do her dishes for over a year. And I was like, looked under the house and went, it was just a fitting. And I called one of my guys and said, just see what you can do. And he came over and put a $1.79 fitting in it. We had to do a whole bunch of other plumbing to the house as, in conjunction with her grant. But for a $2 part, she had gone over a year without running water. So some of the success stories are great. New flooring. Many homes are living with trip hazards or old carpet that's causing trip hazards, or indoor air quality is a big issue. If you have nasty old funky shag carpet with a wore out pad and you have asthma or any kind of breathing issues, this is a really good opportunity. We don't put carpet back in. They don't say ever, but rarely. We usually put hard surface flooring in, which makes a really nice program when we're done with it. Dry rot repairs and siding repairs, pretty obvious. The older houses, the older they get, the more problems they have, and the more deferred maintenance, the worse it gets. So we can come in and do not only dry rot or siding repairs, but we do the dry rot repairs that we find once we pull the siding off. A few of my favorite customers, not favorite customers. Yeah, they were fun. Okay. Heather was the lady I was talking about that had the water leak. Great family, fun to work with. As you can see, she was pretty flamboyant, a lot of fun to work with. And William, same thing, just a wonderful elderly gentleman, had been a farmer most of his life. And, it just didn't work out the way he'd hoped. And he didn't have a lot of opportunity. We got him a new heat pump and a walk-in shower. Heather got a new ramp, some deck repairs and plumbing repairs. Few more of our participants. Phyllis, another wonderful lady, walk-in shower for her. And we also were able to put a new roof on. In general, our cap is $25,000 per family. Sometimes we can do a lot for 25. Sometimes we can do one thing. It just depends on how bad it is. Barbara got a new ramp, roof and electrical repairs. So really, I think it's fair to say that $10,000 or $20,000 may represent certain things to certain people. To us, it might be a real nice family vacation or a new car, and we may not think it's life-changing. But for these folks, it's truly life-changing. As a matter of fact, on the exit interview, I've never had anybody say, I wish I wouldn't have. They're pretty happy to have the result of it. Any question?
What does the application process look like for someone applying?
Great question. So you get on our wait list. It's a regional or a countywide wait list. And it's based on several different criteria. One is the application date. Another one is the severity of the issue. How critical and urgent it is. If you were to call me up and say, how do I get on my wait list? I'd get you on the wait list. And if you put on there, I got, my septic blew up and I got raw sewage in the backyard, that's going to outdo the guy who says, I'd really like to get my kitchen counter fixed because it's not as urgent. Once you get on the wait list, then we select by certain criteria. And it's not really an algorithm, but it's pretty close. We look at the age, if there's any disabilities involved, the date of the application, the urgency of the repair, and then we select based on that criteria. You go through, once you're selected, then you get to fill out a application for the grant. We make sure that we verify income. First, we certify the eligibility of the participant first. So we don't go visit anybody really before they send us all of their information. And that includes verification of Social Security or income, assets. There's asset limits, there's income limits. And that's all based on family or size of family. Once you're certified eligible, then we go do an in-home visit. If it's beyond my scope of expertise to be able to determine the repairs needed, then we hire a professional inspector. They tell us what's wrong. I don't do crawl spaces and I don't do 30-foot roofs. I mean, I can look at a roof from a sidewalk and say, yeah, that's bad. And I can stick my head under a crawl space and say, yeah, it's bad. But if it's entailed, then I hire a professional inspector. Once we determine the need, then we do a scope of work. It's called a work write-up. We have the participant get very heavily involved. This is when the participant gets involved. They go search for bids. We give them a list of contractors that we've used. They get out bids, at least 3 bids per project on each home, and then select a contractor. And then we review the contract or the bids together and determine if that's the wise choice or a good choice. And then we get the repairs done. And then we almost always have a end of construction inspection by a professional to go and walk a roof or crawl a crawl space or make sure the furnace is put in right, that kind of stuff. I can look at it and tell you, I think it looks good, but most of the time I hire an inspector for the project end. That's more you might want to hear, but.
Did you have
there you go.
follow-up on that question?
Does that conflict with, does that have to be counted as income for that applicant who receives it, or is it just a
The
gift?
grant itself?
Yeah.
No, we do not count one-time lump sum things in the asset or
Okay.
income.
So question on the very top of that is the wait list. Would it be an established wait list just for these grant funds? I'm guessing you already have a wait list within your corporation, but only Amity in participants would be eligible if this grant was received, correct?
Correct. So if we do an Amity within the city limits of Amity, we would do some pretty serious marketing to get enough qualified participants to participate in the program. Right now, we don't have a healthy wait list specifically for Amity. We talked about a couple of different avenues on how to get that wait list boosted. But right now, we have 300 about on our list countywide. And I believe that we could spend the money in Amity. It's a 2-year program. The CDBG is a 2-year program. So we have 2 years to do a whole lot of stuff and spend the money and get the repairs done. But I think I'm reasonably confident we could find 20 people
I was
in
gonna
Amity.
ask, so that would be a goal of getting around 20 people
Right.
from.
Yeah. If we're between $15,000 and $25,000 per family,
Mhm.
and we can exceed that as long as the board approves it. Like if I go into a house and I'm at 25, the bid's at 29, I see, well, yeah, we go to the board and we say, we want to do 29 instead of 25. So there is a little bit of room there.
Another question is, you mentioned not being able to do roofs on manufactured homes older than 1978. Is that any work on a
Correct.
house that's older than that?
Correct.
Okay.
Manufactured homes built before then are excluded from the community development block grants straight across the board. Not a me thing. It's the
Off the
program.
top of your head, are there any other major exclusions like that within the program?
And a CDBG, there's what we would put as inclusions
Mhm.
would be a bigger list than exclusions. Exclusions are limited. I mean, you get denied if you're over income, over asset, the house is not fixable.
Mhm.
I mean, we can't put more than 25% or 50% into a structure. If it's worth 100, we can put 50, but if it's worth 50, we can put 25. So doesn't happen very often anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are basically the only exclusions are asset, income, age of manufactured home.
And then are primary residence and like single car taken off of assets? Like what all is included in an asset cutoff number?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarification. I did. So asset, for me, if
Mhm.
I was me and I had a wife and she was not working, but I was working, we would exclude my car. We would not exclude her car unless there was a disability or some need for that car. But if I walk into a house and do an inspection and it happens, I go in and we have no assets and not very much income. And here's a 50 Chevy truck sitting there all dolled up. They're going to probably get denied. Income asset or asset limit is 25,000. If you're under 61 and under is 25,000, and 62 and older is 50,000. If the prospective participant at that point has a compelling reason why we should ignore that, I have a disability, I anticipate having to do this to
Mhm.
spend money. Medical things is usually the main compelling reason. We can get by that. Doesn't happen very often, but we can.
And
Or
then
they can participate in the payment.
equity or ownership of the primary dwelling doesn't count either.
One more time.
Like your equity in the primary dwelling. So like if you
Oh,
own
correct.
your home, it's
Thank
worth
you.
$100,000, but you still need the $25,000
correct.
in work. That's not 100.
We exclude yes, thank you. We
Okay.
exclude the real estate.
Okay.
The first house. Now, if you have investment property, we don't exclude that, but we do exclude the home and generally the first car.
I assume so, yes. I just wanted to clarify that that was
Yeah.
how it operated.
Yeah.
Other questions from council?
I want to clarify, did I hear that right? So is it any home that's 1978 and older or just a manufactured home?
Just manufactured homes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, we do stuff with lead-based paint and asbestos and we do remediation and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. Radon has become a hot one.
Does abatement count in any of this that might be needed? Yeah. Or sorry, not abatement. What's the word I'm looking for? When we take like trash and things out.
Yeah, like debris removal, if that was a safety issue, something like that.
Sometimes that can be tricky. You get some great questions. I appreciate this really, because not many people have these questions. I've been to a lot of city council meetings and they're not this good. So we partner with Sweet Mom. I don't know if you've heard of them. And Mac Hub. It's a kind of a subsidiary of Sweet Mom. They are a nonprofit in McMinnville and we're doing a little pilot project for stuff removal.
Did you say sweet mop?
Swede, SWEEDE. It's spelled really weird, but if you Google it, you'll find it. And what they do is they help us by helping us remove the stuff that can't be there. Went into a house a couple of months ago and literally couldn't go up the stairs, and I could just barely make it in. She was in a full-on wheelchair with the little joystick and could barely make it around her place. For $692, Sweet Mom came in, took a bunch of her stuff that could be resold, but she didn't want or need, and then helped haul the garbage off. And yeah, we cannot pay with CDBG funds a complete dismantle, or I mean, taking it all stuff away. We can make it safe, but we can't pay for everything.
Yeah.
So we pay for a portion, and then we get another partner involved.
So more on the programmatic portion of this. City of Amity would be the primary beneficiary. You guys would be the secondary beneficiary. But as far as the workload, the reporting, the application, I know you have a framework and experience and are offering to support us through that. What does the workload or involvement look like from our side?
It's fairly limited. I think Nathan might have had a good handle on that, had a conversation Newburgh or McMinnville with one of the other community developers. The fortunate thing is we do, once we get the grant, then we do about 90% of the paperwork and the actual work. What the city's part would be is to review, like I get the grant application in a packet. I get it already. I've approved it. And then I send it to whoever is the designated officer for the city of Amity, and that person would need to review it, the toxic chemical, the environmental review, and it's all pretty generic. Yes, no questions. It's all filled out, and you review it and you approve it and send it back to me. That's the part on the ongoing case that whoever's designated the officer for the program would be responsible for. Once you get used to looking at them, probably take you 15 minutes at an app for each application. When we spend our money first, and then so the housing or the Yamhill County Affordable Housing Corporation spends our money. We've been promised to be reimbursed. You've been promised to be reimbursed. We spend our money, and then we make a draw request every quarter or so to reimburse. And they actually reimburse the city, and then the city reimburses us.
Okay.
That's an accounting thing that we work out in the preliminary part of the grant agreement.
Okay.
That might take a little bit of legwork for the account people, whoever handles that. I'm on it. I do all of the draw requests. I do all of the preparation of that draw request. I submit it to whoever is the designated officer. We go over it, and then we ship it off to Business Oregon for reimbursement. So they don't actually give us $500,000, right? Some of them do, but
Yeah.
this one does not.
And then you talked about things being approved by your board. So really the city of Amity and the council itself doesn't have a place in looking at those applications or making decisions on where individual grants would be granted to within the community?
Initially, I select from our, are you talking about the participant?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
so I select from our wait list. We might do we'd have to do some initial marketing to
Outreach,
boost our,
yeah.
some outreach to get that wait list boosted. But then what we do, our part is to select those participants, certify their eligibility, certify the house eligible, and then we put together a package, and then you get to look at it. If you look at it and you go, I think this person doesn't need 25,000. I think they need 10. You make that decision, or your certified officer makes that decision.
Not that I necessarily want that responsibility. I was just curious as to where.
No, that's a great question. No.
Yeah. The ability for us to be in that position is there depending on who we would decide to do it.
It is important because like your sister might not be able to be in our grant program because you might have some influence on that decision. So we try to make that, pretty clear in the onset. So.
Any other direct questions from the council before we go into discussion? Okay. Well, thank you for joining us and the information.
Okay.
I think our plan is I'll open the public hearing in case we have anyone that wants to provide comment. And then after that, we'll be ready for council discussion.
Thanks again. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the Amity City Council will now conduct a public hearing concerning council's intent to apply for a community development block grant in 2026 in the amount of $500,000 for a 2026 Amity Housing Rehabilitation Project. The purpose of this first hearing is for the city council to take comments from citizens about both community development needs and the project proposed for grant funding prior to applying to Housing and Urban Development through Business Oregon for the funding. The public testimony portion is now open. Yeah. Audience member, would you like to provide public testimony? Thank you. We appreciate that. I don't see anyone online either. Did we receive any written comment?
We did have one person join online, Andrea. I don't know if you were wanting to comment on the CDBG grant application, but if you are, just send me a quick chat. Let me know.
I'm sorry, I hadn't scrolled over
Nope.
to the full audience. Okay.
Let you know, but I don't see
okay.
anything.
Well, I don't want to close the public hearing. Is there, one last time, is there anyone online that would like to provide public testimony?
Andrea confirmed she's
Okay,
not here for this.
all right. I just wanted to check. Okay, we will now close public testimony and the city council will deliberate and decide. The decision before us this evening is either to continue with the application or not. Any council discussion?
I'll start. I think this is exciting and a great program for our community. You know, there's certainly the need out there in many houses within Amity city limits for help. We have many fixed income residents, and I think this is just an awesome opportunity for the city of Amity.
Yeah, ditto. I have no concerns. I like full speed ahead. Let's do this.
Sounds awesome. Okay.
I guess I have one question. Why would we not be interested in this? I mean,
Heartless?
well, no, but I think it's a legitimate question to ask. I mean, because it's coming to us for a reason. And
Mhm.
is there any detraction that we can consider, that we should be considering? I mean,
The only negative that I know of is that we can't apply for another CDBG grant this year.
Yeah, but you can't have two open at the same time. So within the next 2 years, we could still apply again.
Sure.
Yeah.
If you go
Oh,
here,
the
we have a
microphone's
counselor
better.
online, so they can't hear unless it's mic'd.
Okay, so I'm Mark Irving with the Yamhill County Affordable Housing Corporation. And to comment on the CDBG grants that you can have consistently, you're correct on the two. As in the, if you want to apply for another housing grant, you have to be 60% spent down before you can do that. That's one thing that I didn't talk about.
also it doesn't have to be fully resolved then.
And that generally is in the first year. I mean, we try to run that out in the first year.
Okay.
So it's available. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's
Counselor Luker, do you have anything you want in the conversation?
All right. I first of all, I'd like to say thank you to Mr. Irvin tonight. It's awesome presentation. And second, yeah, I'm 100% back this. I think this is a great opportunity for folks who need some assistance in our community.
Counselor Blanco, anything to add?
I think it's a good idea.
I'm also in agreement, and I would say I think that it's important that we do a lot of outreach marketing. We just heard at our last meeting, you know, the amount of people eligible for like the PGE discount just tells me that income threshold is prominent throughout the community. But I also think just given the 2-year timeline and the eligibility requirements that if it did need to be expanded to the unincorporated Yamhill County, there's probably some really deserving people on the wait list. If we found a healthy 10 or 15 people here and just couldn't find more through our outreach. So I'm not opposed to that being part of the decision either.
I do have one question, and I guess, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Really for you, because it just came to me. What about renters? What about someone who is fixed income and all that? They're living in a place that definitely needs help. They're a renter.
That would not apply to a tenant.
There are like housing authority things that renters can go to if a owner is not taking care of their property.
Yeah, so it's almost like a renter could recommend this to the owner of their property. If the renter saw the outreach, saw the marketing and said, hey, I think we're eligible, this could help me get my living space fixed, but it would be on the owner to be eligible.
That owner would probably not be eligible.
Oh,
They don't live
because
in the
that
residence,
doesn't
yeah.
have-
Yeah.
But, yeah.
But there might be other resources or just call attention to the living conditions in general. Any other questions or considerations? If not, do I have a motion?
We don't have a sample for the motion.
After consideration of public comments and presented information, I move to continue forward with the CDBG application for the 2026 Amity Housing Rehabilitation Project.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to continue forward with the CBDG application for the 2026 Amity Housing Authority Rehabilitation Project. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion passes and we will move forward. Thank you. Thank you, Mark. And I feel like this has a pretty quick timeline, so we're going to get the ball rolling on anything else that needs done. Okay.
Yes, we will submit the intake form with the recording of this meeting and the the recording of that motion here in the next, well, probably tomorrow. And Mark's already started working on the application itself. And then the application is due by the end of September. And so we'll probably get it submitted mid-December. So
Will that be anything that needs,
it's September, sorry.
will that be something that needs to come before the council itself, the application for approval?
I don't believe so, not if
Okay.
there was a good agreement on an emotion to move
Okay.
forward, so.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone. That was the public hearing portion. We will move on to new business. And we're going to start with the DLCD IGA. This is for the second portion. Oh, no, this is for the housing capacity analysis. To formalize the relationship and clarify the city of Amity and the DLCD's obligations to each other and to the project. So we had the intergovernmental agreement in our packet. Anything else to go over or highlight?
I just want to add or clarify, this is a project that is already is already ongoing, largely because we asked the department or DLCD, the Department of Land Conservation and Development, to administer the grant project for us. So no money came to Amity. We didn't spend any money on a contractor. Instead, DLCD hired the consultant and then basically assigned them to the Amity Housing Capacity Analysis Project. We did, we certainly joined in the meetings where we, outlined scope of work and stuff like that, but
Mhm.
mostly it's been through DLCD. And so this project has already been largely, put together, and it is well on its way. Like I think, like I said in the agenda item, this is mostly just to clarify and formalize that agreement between us and DLCD.
And please correct me if I'm remembering wrong, but didn't we accept the grant award formally as a council?
I think we did.
So we've accepted the grant awards as essentially what is paying for it. This is just us accepting the agreement of the relationship of DLCD administering and doing that work. It's saying like, yes, we were awarded that money and yes, you are doing the work. So the money is staying with you essentially
Yes.
because the grant was from them
Yes.
and it's staying with them because they're offering us the entirety of the scope of work being done by the
Mhm.
consultant.
So everything on this, on the timeline where it's things that were being done in April, that's that's in the works and we're not like behind schedule.
Sorry, let me check the timeline. But as far as I know, we're right on schedule. The consultant hired for this has been doing a great job, and they've done a really good job of sticking to their schedule. So
Okay, yeah, I was just looking on the tasks of just the anticipated timelines of things and
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's nothing on their timeline, just says ongoing throughout the project
okay.
for all of the tasks. But we
But as far as looking at the deliverables, they are all the way towards the end of that
Mhm.
list.
they are. There is still a bit more outreach with the housing capacity analysis project that they're wanting to do. Particularly, they want to engage, well, or hold a city council planning commission joint work session to talk about the results of that analysis. And right now that is planned for or scheduled for January. So.
Okay. Any other questions on the IGA or concerns? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the proposed intergovernmental agreement between the state of Oregon's Department of Land Conservation and Development and the city of Amity, and authorize the city administrator to sign.
Second,
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the proposed intergovernmental agreement between the state of Oregon's Department of Land Conservation and Development and the city of Amity and authorize the city administrator to sign. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion passes. Our next item of new business is resolution 2026-07 contingency funds for park tree removal. Nathan, I will hand this over to you to go over background.
Yes, thank you. So in mid to late July of this year, 3 large Douglas fir trees in the Amity City Park were struck by lightning. They're right over there by Sunset Court, basically right against the house in the southwest corner of Sunset Court. And they're quite large, but the lightning damage was also quite extensive. And so with the combination of the several signs of kind of just age to the trees and that lightning damage, I think it's warranted, and all the arborists that I've talked to agree that it's warranted that we simply remove them to avoid a risk of falling or dead trees now being a larger risk to the neighboring properties. In that group, there were 3 that specifically that you could see got hit by lightning. There's a 4th one right next to it. And typically the way we've seen those Douglas firs, they really struggle, particularly once their neighbors are gone. And so with removing the three, basically all of the arborists that I talked to also recommended removing that fourth one right there in that group. And so I asked for several quotes to remove all 4 Douglas fir trees, and I received a few quotes back. The lowest quote I've received, at least so far, I'm still waiting on a couple, but the lowest quote that I've received so far was approximately $8,000. That would pretty much wipe out the rest of the parks budget. In a normal year, that's what parks would spend on, equipment and supplies and contract services together. And so rather than start the year with an empty parks budget and ask people to scrounge all year, I thought it might be worth asking for contingency funds in that amount of $8,000 to cover that cost of removing those trees.
I feel like the request is pretty self-explanatory. I'm just opening it up for input from council.
I had 2 questions. The bid in front of us, you said there were multiple, but the bid in front of us has 3 of the trees being ground on stumps and the 4th one is not included. Was there a reason for that one not being included?
So yeah, there were some optional things at the end, and I'm open to input on whether or not we want to include all of them or none of them. I looked at, what it would be to grind the 3 stumps closest to the house, and then leave that kind of 4th one that was a little bit further away, closer to, or a little bit further out in the park, and closer to where we've been leaving other stumps. I didn't feel that there was necessarily a need to grind it.
Is there any need to grind the ones that are closer to the house? I mean, if it's short enough that it can't fall, what's the point in grinding it down?
So we could leave all 3 stumps. There's not necessarily a need to grind any of them. I didn't know if we would want to clean up some of the area, right? Because otherwise,
Nice.
It looks nicer and it gives us the ability later on to plant something if,
to plant something in that area.
yeah. Sorry, I just blanked on my other question. Go ahead.
So yeah, we could certainly include that 4th stump grinding, or we could take out the other 3.
I just wasn't sure. I was wondering if there was they didn't recommend it after all, or if...
No particular reason. They gave me the option on all of them, and that's what I clicked on so far.
And so with our parks budget, I know that we took down a couple trees recently. Are we able to use any amount of our parks budget to reduce the draw, or do you think that all 8,000 is what we typically use just for regular maintenance?
We do. Over the last couple of years, we have used a few thousand of that contract labor, usually to bring down a couple of trees. I think last year we actually got lucky and the trees came down on their own and didn't happen to damage anything other than, like the fence. And so we paid to fix the fence, but didn't necessarily pay to remove the trees or anything like that. And so I think last year we got lucky. The year before that, we did spend a couple thousand on removing a couple. We could certainly use some of that contract cost or contract labor to go towards this.
What's the allocation for contract labor?
I think it's $4,000.
And then repair and maintenance is 6,000?
Equipment and supplies and maintenance kind of lumps together around, is it 5 or 6? Is it 6?
Could be lower, but yeah, around 5%.
It's around 5 or 6 that we usually spend, and that's maintaining mowers, keeping equipment running, that kind of thing.
My personal thoughts are that we're kind of thoughtful with the parks budget, but it falls within general fund. And as far as what general fund money goes to, I feel like this is a good use of contingency because we didn't plan for multiple trees to be hit by lightning. That really is a contingency scenario that I would
What
rather not
contingency is.
start our fiscal year with the park struggling when we have a goal to like go improve services or improve aesthetics. We're not going to do that if we're working in a with a deficit of funds.
Makes sense.
But that's just my thoughts.
So is,
Yeah, go ahead.
Cool.
I was just gonna second that and this is it's an important piece of work that needs to be done as someone whose house is real close to these and who cares about the people who live there. Like, yeah, let's get those scary trees out of there because it's just a matter of time.
Councilor Shields.
I'm also in favor of getting the trees out of there. As far as the stump grinding going, is there any other stuff there besides the trees next to the house? I mean, I'm not familiar with what it looks like currently.
It's really in the very edge corner. It's very close to the first house that sits on the west side of Sunset Court. There's nothing else really there in that little corner except for this stand of trees.
So I guess my personal opinion on the stump grinding is leave it up to the house owner because they're the ones that are gonna have to look at it mostly. I mean, because I don't know, I don't see us doing a whole lot in that area, honestly, besides mowing it and keeping the brush down.
But that's also easier to do without stumps there.
Yeah, but I mean, we're currently going around them anyways, so I mean, it seems like a wash. If the homeowners don't care, we save the money. If they do care, we get rid of them. But maybe that's not the right choice. I don't know. It's just, I personally don't have a huge bias one way or the other. So I would rather have somebody that had a vested interest in it make a decision.
She got opinions about something.
Yeah, do we have citizen comments on this agenda item? We would invite our audience to weigh in if they so feel.
Actually, yes.
Can you state your name and address for the record and then go ahead?
I'm
And-
Andrea Full and I am 434 Sunset Court. I am the house that is first on Sunset Court that is next to the trees.
So from our brief conversation, I know you're in favor of tree removal, but do you have an opinion on the stumps and what is left?
The only concern of leaving them, the two concerns of leaving them is the park host still has to go around them either way. He's having a difficult time doing it now as they stand as trees. The blackberries were a lot shorter when we moved in, and they've encroached quite a bit because the ability to get around those trees is difficult. Leaving the stumps just continues that struggle. However, taking them too far down could disrupt the root system because the tree that's closest to me is what's been described to me as the mother tree of most of the surrounding trees, which means that the roots of that tree probably encroach underneath the foundation of my house. And if the stump is too far down, if they stump it too far down, then it might affect the root system of my house that's underneath.
Thank you for the input. Do you have anything else you want to add on the topic before we go back to discussion?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Just to
Thank you.
clarify, is the mother tree that you're talking about on your property or is it one of the ones that are coming down?
It's one of the ones that are
It-
coming.
Okay.
They're
So if it's
they're all
coming
city
down-
trees. Yeah,
So it almost seems like it would be better to take the stumps out, because if it's coming down, you don't want the roots to continue, and they're pretty localized when they take stumps out.
correct.
I'm confused.
Well, I think that's good input about being able to mow around them and deal with those blackberries in that back corner. And if getting rid of at least some of the stumps helps with that, I think that's a point on that column for me.
So I don't know if anyone is able to answer this question, or I guess I'm just unfamiliar. When the tree comes down, do the roots atrophy? They're gonna break down.
Yeah.
And so regardless that, if they happen to be infiltrating the neighboring property, what's gonna happen is going to happen whether it's stumped to any degree or not. Just because the tree will no longer be living and growing.
It'll
Yeah.
be much slower if it's not stumped, but yes.
That might be a good question for the arborist, just to clarify if there's.
And say, my understanding is that if you grind the stump, it just speeds up the root decay, right? Over time, yes, eventually your stump's gonna break down and decay as well, and all the roots will with it, but if you grind it, it's a lot faster.
So maybe to grind the other ones except that closest one.
I feel like that also maybe is like the decision before us is about the contingency funds, and the decision before our city administrator and the arborist and the park host and public works. That discussion, we can trust them to make the best decision for the city and any adjacent properties.
But I think contingency funds are the right choice, yes.
Counselor Luker, I just want to make sure you are able to contribute anything.
I think contingency funds are the way to go. Public safety is our number one priority as elected officials in the city. So, and then we can go back and look at what the effect is of stumping or grinding or removal or letting them lie there and decay on their own. I'm not an arborist, so I can't really speak on the subject.
Counselor Blanco, do you have anything to add? Michael Blanco? Counselor Rachel Blanco?
Okay. Do I have a motion on this agenda item?
Motion to approve resolution 2026-07, a resolution authorizing the transfer of appropriated funds from the contingency to parks within the fiscal year 2026 and 2027 general fund budget.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve resolution 2026-07, a resolution authorizing the transfer of appropriated funds from contingency to parks within the fiscal year 2026-27 general fund budget. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion passes. Now I need to find my agenda, my pile of papers. Sorry, guys, I overshuffled. I got it. Our last item of new business is resolution 2026-08 application for TGM grants. Nathan, will you share a little bit about what this is and what you hope to apply for?
Yeah, so the Transportation Growth Management Program is a program put on by, it's kind of a joint program from DLCD and ODOT with the intention that they help cities and regions basically help with transportation planning. So they want to fund planning projects specifically that tie to transportation. I think this would be a great fit for the city of Amity. I brought this opportunity to the city council last year when their grant cycle was open. I did submit an application. We didn't receive an award. I've largely kept the same kind of grant application. I've been told that TGM is a program where you apply multiple times and maybe you make small tweaks, maybe you don't, but over time you move up the list. They have kind of a backlog of people that they want to get to, and if they see multiple applications, you're more likely to receive funding. So last year and again this year, applying to basically develop a downtown master plan or area plan for the city of Amity. I think this would really look at kind of the downtown area, in my mind, specifically framed between the railroad, the school campus, the now combined middle school and high school campus, Nursery Street on the south end, and probably 3rd Street or maybe all the way up to Rosedale on the north end. And look at that as, is there availability for infill, higher density housing in there, that maybe so that people could walk to school, people could walk to downtown, those types of things, but also specifically, and the big transportation tie that I focus on and that I really want to dive into is street standards, both local street standards, like how wide our streets should be, whether they have sidewalks, what those sidewalks should look like in that downtown area, and specifically how it ties in with Oregon 99W, right? The highway is a major player in Amity, and it kind of affects everything that the city does, whether we like it or not. There's a lot of opportunity with it, right? People that come from all over. Also a lot of inconvenience and headache with it. And so between those different lenses, as far as I really just think it would be helpful if we had a planning project look at how our streets, our local street network, should tie into the highway framework, the regional highway framework. What that may look like for parking management, street size, streetscape, housing, and really multimodal transportation, which is what they're trying to support with these grant applications.
Quick question on the local match. What does that look like, or what could that potentially look like?
Great question. So the local match, they calculated it at approximately 11.5%. For example, kind of a popular or the grant cost that I'm asking for this time around is $130,000 to go towards a consultant. So then the local match would be, it's calculated at 11.5%, which puts it just under 15,000. That can be supplied by the city, purchasing supplies, which we often do with some of these planning projects, by purchasing community engagement supplies, tracking our time as well. And so in speaking with the TGM program managers, they said that most cities are able to meet that match just by tracking time. And actually,
that's an in-kind contribution towards your match.
We are listed by Business Oregon as a distressed city. That's kind of looks at income and income size and a few other factors. But that, while it's no guarantee with the TGM program, it means that I can ask to reduce the local match by 50%. And so that would put us down at the 7,500 mark of local match or in-kind donation and support, if we can meet the 15,000 with local, just tracking time and tracking our costs over the 2 to 3 year period, I think we could definitely do that with the 50% reduction. And so I'll certainly ask for that. They did say though that it's not a guarantee. So
And then if we just had to pull it from the budget, if they said we want documentation that you have these available to match, would that come from streets?
I think it could, but typically the general fund pays for city development or community development, which is kind of where this would fit. And like I said, the window for TGM grant program, what do they say? That basically any grants that get awarded now, they would want to be done by June of 2029. So we would have a couple of budget years to kind of spread that over the next few years if it was awarded. And if for some reason tracking time and, you know, if they said, no, we will only take a local cash match or something, then.
Okay, we could plan for it.
Mhm.
Maybe. Any other questions?
So this would be an analysis, not necessarily any change except for some code or zoning changes.
So the goal would be to look at everything, and TGM does put an emphasis on adoption of recommended changes, right? They want to see that we get to the end and that we do reach an adoption of something. You know, there's nothing in the grant application that ties us to adopting certain things. But largely what I put in the application that I would hope to adopt, assuming recommended changes were found, or recommendations were made, would be to our street design standards, right? Specifically that, possibly zoning, possibly,
Could that be done as an amendment to our TSP? Like a formal amendment?
some of it could be. I'm honestly not sure. They've given me a few different recommendations, one of which was to look at an amendment to the TSP. Some of that could be. Yes. And some of this, they may come away with a recommendation of amending the TSP in certain ways, right? Some of the TSP includes it includes capital projects or capital street projects, recommended street sections for certain areas. And so this may look at changing that.
I just feel like that's an avenue where you can make specific changes on the TSP outline projects without changing the development code for, as far as like street standards,
Mhm.
which might be more helpful in relation to the highway versus our entire local transportation system.
No.
And this will work with ODOT to get on the same page, so we are able to skip that process.
That's
move
the goal,
forward.
is to have ODOT included. I specifically called out that ODOT is working on an urban design verification study right now. That's where they're kind of like looking at our downtown features, striping, stuff like that, and seeing what recommendations they would give, and for pedestrian improvements or highway improvements.
Nathan, we have a comment online.
I'm basically hoping that this will build on that. So Andrea 434 Sunset asked, would this include offset streets to Highway 99 or strictly turnoffs of Highway 99? Great question. The kind of project area that I proposed, like I said, is kind of between the railroad tracks and the high school, or high school, middle school, and nursery and 3rd Street or Rosedale. Not sure how far north to go, but kind of that downtown area. So that like Getchell, Woodson, Sherman, Oak, right in there. But then specifically it does look at how they tie into the highway, right? Because ODOT's involved in this project. But it may also just look at what do our local streets look like and how big do they need to be? those kinds of questions.
This basically is, I think, as you were pointing out, is overall recommendation. And accepting any of their recommendations is a separate conversation. Correct?
It is.
Yes. I feel like it's just to put it starkly, the bureaucracy of obtaining the consultation and the recommendations really empower us when we then want to implement something, because we're able to say, look, it's in writing, this is an official recommendation. Or especially when we apply for grant funding. So not only when we make a decision to do something, but when we're looking for state and federal funding to help support us, if we're able to say, look, it even says this in our TGM downtown master plan, it elevates our chances to help get funding for those things. But it continues to be frustrating. This is great. I think it's a great opportunity for Amity. It continues to be frustrating that we need another $130,000 plan, which does not give us $130,000 to get anything done. But for the record, I will stop there. Any other questions?
I feel like this is another one where there's no reason not to at least ask for it. And then if and when we are granted, then we take it from there. Then we have some bigger decisions to make, but yeah, I think getting all the information is great.
Do I have a motion?
I move to approve resolution 2026-08, a resolution authorizing an application for the Transportation and Growth Management Grant Program.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve resolution 2026-08, a resolution authorizing an application for the Transportation and Growth Management Grant Program. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion passes. I believe that was our last item of new business. I keep doing this to myself.
Yes, what? Now we're into our work session.
Yes. Okay, working discussion. Mural Code, and it is highlighted under such a title because this has been an ongoing conversation. So once again, I will pass it to Nathan to get us kick-started and then maybe highlight what you'd like to hear in this discussion and what you're looking for as far as next steps or guidance to get us to where we need closer to taking action.
Yes. So to give a little bit of background, there's been some interest in murals in the past. I think it kind of started before I even got here, so it's been a long time coming. But the city council has set a goal to develop a mural code that determines whether and to what extent murals are regulated by the city of Amity. And that's really kind of at the heart of our question tonight for the city council, and that I'm hoping to hear and or hoping that we can work through, is whether the city of Amity wants to regulate murals, and if so, to what extent. There's a few examples. I should have included more code examples here. I linked to them, but I didn't specifically include them in the packet. I'll break down kind of the different approaches though. And there's basically two, you could maybe call it three typical approaches that I've encountered in visiting with other city managers. The first approach is to have the city own the mural. And I think I've mentioned this briefly before, but basically, if somebody wanted to put a mural on the side of their building, the applicant, whether that's the property owner or somebody wanting to put a mural on somebody else's building, right? Say, hey, I'm an artist and want to paint. They would come to the city, and there would be a number of requirements that they would have to kind of fulfill with their plan or their permit request. One of those would be an easement to the city, to the side of the building. That would basically just grant the city access to, access or maintain the side of the building. Typically, it's like during business hours. You can get into the nuances of what that easement looks like. But largely it's so that the city can own the art. And so the city sets up a public art program. The artist would donate the art to the city, and the city would loan it to that building, basically, or it's considered a loan from the city's art collection, if you will. The reason you see cities do this and set up a public art program like this is so that they can control what the mural looks like and the aesthetic of it. Basically, it usually it looks like setting up an art committee. Usually, this is done by larger cities for sure, that have a bit more in resources and a bit more in volunteer manpower, potentially committee staffing, that kind of thing. But sets up a public art committee who would review and kind of keep track of murals and other public art throughout the city. And so that is one approach, is to set all that up. The second approach, and this is why I'd say there are three approaches. The second approach that I've seen is to essentially regulate murals under a municipality sign code. This isn't, people don't tend to like this route as much, just because murals don't very often fit kind of the same things we want to do with a sign, right? A sign is usually put up by a business to advertise or to direct attention. And so usually the sign code is written around those kinds of ideas of not being so large, having certain standards. And so murals don't always fit well into that. That said, you could always write separate regulations within sign code for a mural. That would typically look like requiring a sign permit. And then so somebody would come, present their plan to the city, ask for a sign permit. Right now, that's a fee of $50, I want to say. And then, some paperwork, but largely just a drawing of what the sign would look like. And then the city can approve it, but we can't look at the content of it at all, right? It doesn't, we're just looking at whether or not it fits the standards of time, or not time, but time, place, and manner, basically. So is it in an acceptable place? Is it an acceptable size? Does it fit those standards? Kind of the third approach that I've seen is that removes the city even further. And that is for the city to either not have standards and ignore the question of murals and make it the building owner can paint their building, right? However they so choose. Or to establish very light or general standards in the municipal code. The city of Dallas, I think, has a great example of just a few standards for location and function of murals. Basically says they have to be, in the business area or in the downtown area. Can't remember what all it limits, but basically it's saying that it wants to be original art murals, so painted. Shouldn't be a projection or have flashing lights, those kinds of things. So yes, so those are kind of the three approaches. Right now, I had a long, confusing conversation with the city attorney, and I think where we ended up is that the Amity Development Code does include a mural in the definition of sign, But then it says that a sign is used to announce, direct attention to, or advertise. And we argued that a mural wouldn't typically necessarily do those things. But it's more to beautify and enhance the sense of place, or simply be there, right? And not necessarily to kind of call attention. Anyway, point being, we could try to regulate murals under the development code. We could also say that development code doesn't really apply to them, and in which case the argument would be that the city doesn't have any code regulating for or against murals.
I don't think it's in the city's best interest or budget to manage them and have it be our property.
Yeah, that first method sounds incredibly
No.
cumbersome for everyone.
I think it sounds like a good plan to have an application fee and go through an application process to have some sort of standards where, you know, it has to be either in this sort of district or there was one I saw, it said may require lighting or a graffiti cover on it. I liked that there was it Oregon City that said, yep, the city can require with written notice that they maintain it. So if it's been vandalized or if it's in disrepair, they have to either paint over it or make it nice again. You know, it can't just crumble. I think that some of those standards would be nice to have in our code without us being involved in what goes up and maintaining it and being responsible for easements. And
yeah, I really like the Dallas model. I think it's got some standards to it, but it more or less, like, we don't have to manage a program. It's just, if you're going to do this, like, do it the right way.
And there might be room between the Dallas and the Oregon City where we put things that are important to us and the people of Amity. So it's going to look a little different, but I would lean more towards the Dallas version also.
yeah,
Just
I liked the Dallas
being
version.
pretty
There were
just
a
like
couple things.
purpose, definition, standards.
Yeah, and it was simple. I
Mhm.
mean, I was, yeah.
So if we wanted to do that route, what does that look like from our end? Like you coming with a draft to a work session and then we add or subtract?
And say the way Dallas does it is simply a municipal ordinance. And so, yes, it would.
Oh,
would-
and then it can go to a council meeting and then be put in our code.
Mhm.
2 readings.
Yes. Yeah.
See if our.
I would love to
Other
see
questions?
murals around town. I think that that's such a great addition.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
You
I was just
first,
going to
please.
ask some follow-up questions of like, do we want a permit process? I know Dallas doesn't have one at all. And their city manager was like, if you're not gonna be involved in managing it, then take the city out completely, right? And his argument was that generally there's some pretty good community regulation around large paintings on walls.
Yep. This community will self-police the heck out of the content.
I also feel like a arbitrary fee, or I mean, well, however you want to say it, like not so much like generate revenue, but then it gets a name on file.
I think the application process, one gets a name on file,
Contact
puts
info.
the correct info of if you're going to do a mural, we have this in our code that you have to maintain it or that you have to, you know, you have to follow these guidelines around it. And I think it's a good step in the process for the city to have that.
Just so we could hand them something with the code on it, like, oh, we're so glad you're
And
applying.
$50 for a mural
Yeah.
is nothing.
I just also want to ask if we had anyone in the audience that would like to give public testimony on the subject of murals and mural code
Or online.
or online.
Yes.
Name and address, please.
Talk into the microphone.
Microphone.
Here, hold on, sorry. Hold on.
Not only you have the city involved with an application fee, but also it goes through some sort of review.
because I personally don't want to see nudity or sexual content in our city. So I think that's something that needs to be written somewhere, or a review is done by somebody before it's approved. So it's nothing for an artist to drop what their plan is and show you this is what we want to do.
Except for we legally can't regulate because that's your freedom of speech. So we have no legal standing. We can we can set parameters on time, place, and manner, but not content unless it's owned by the city. So we would have to go that route if we wanted to have regulations on what could be put up.
I think it's really important that what goes up is addressed.
We've had some extensive conversations about whether the city should regulate what goes up or not. And they were some really good conversations. It's hard because I do feel like, especially in our smaller community, that the community would police itself if something inappropriate or was felt inappropriate went up.
I don't really agree with that, but we have to look that we have children in our community. We have religious people in our community. And so I think it's important that our community is a community and not anybody can just come in and put something up. I think that it needs to be addressed.
And there are obscenity guidelines that we could work under if somebody were to they're real broad though. Yeah.
Like a direct threat of violence could be.
And there's some constitutional standards of what constitutes obscenity, but art is an exception. So
yeah. Councilor Blanco?
I say just walk away from it, let the community do what it wants to do. Long ago, I'm talking a few years, long ago, there used to be people in the small community called the shaders. And what happened was, if the community did something that cost them, the shaders made sure everyone knew who did it and how the whole community felt about it. And that's how they accomplished change if someone did something that was against the community spirit. So perhaps more, rather than stacking more regulations on top of everybody, confusing, especially if we're talking about PVC's part. Give everybody a chance. If it becomes a serious issue, let the community express that concern and then act on that.
Thank you. Bonnie, I want to make sure you don't have anything else to add.
I do. I mean, I would agree with that if we were living 50 years ago, but our culture has changed so much that I don't think that is something that would happen, unfortunately. So I think that if murals were to go up, and I would love to see murals go up as an artist myself, but I think that I'd rather not see murals go up than to see profanity or nudity or other things that I do see as an artist when I go to art shows. At an art show, it's acceptable. As a public driving by or walking by, especially when you have children, I do not think it's acceptable. So that's.
Thank you.
thank you.
Councilor Lucard, would you like to weigh in on Mural Code in general and the 3 sort of options before us?
Yeah, I like option 3, but you know, I do support the Constitution. Obviously, we took an oath to support the Constitution, but I totally understand what our residents saying. It's, you know, none of us want to see that. So it's a catch-22 here. I don't know which way to go on that, but I do support option 3.
So Andrea did have a bunch of comments.
Yeah, I was going to read those. There are a couple of comments online. The question is, what if the mural advertised Amity as a city? For example, murals can be made in approved places, but only be advertising Amity as a town.
So we wouldn't be able to do that unless we own them as a city. So it would be option one for us to say anything about the content that's in it.
Councilor Blanco?
Just quick question, the mural live up anywhere. As far as I see it, it only falls either under something, some area that belongs to the city or to a private party. Is that basically correct? Is there any neutral place the mural would go up, or would those be the two areas?
Those would, I mean, yeah, to my understanding.
There are avenues of conversations that can be brought up to think about those.
And
the owner could like then say, I don't want this on my store, right?
well, the property owner would have to agree to a mural being painted in the first place. So that,
Yeah.
so that
That's it.
agreement would be
I don't start
between the
property
property owner and the artist.
Somebody, the owner said it's okay, or did it accept the person?
And then just to throw a hypothetical out there, right? Like, so Dallas says only in the commercial area or general commercial. Say we had, the standards like that are very broad, but they're there. If we had a residential property owner right now that painted a mural on the side of their house that was artistic in nature, I have not read any code that says we have enforcement to change that. Because we do not have residential design standards that would apply to an artistic interpretation on a residential house.
I think residents should be able to do whatever they want with their house.
And I'm not going to use this time to comment on that. I'm just saying that we're talking about all these hypotheticals as of right now. Outside of what we could legally define as a sign, we have no enforcement to what people are doing. And we've went all this time without something showing up that was so outrageous that we had to be compelled to make changes legally within our authority. So just to throw that out there, I think that having some standards is always better than none, just because it's something to fall back on when people have questions. But I'm seeing there's some consensus around that option 3. Is there anyone opposed?
I'm definitely not opposed. I mean, it's no secret that I'm always a proponent of being able to do on your property what you want to do within reason. And I don't think the fear of something outrageous warrants limiting the possibility to have something really awesome and beautiful up there. And so aside from maybe some lighting restrictions in an ordinance or something along those lines that just makes sense being on a main road, I'm for giving free rein.
Just say that it's an extreme example. In our neighborhood, if someone on our neighborhood, the big blank side of their house, either painted a sunrise or a swastika, I guarantee you there would be action in the neighborhood. One might be applauded, I guarantee you the other, there would be all sorts of commotion. So I mean, the people do in neighborhoods, and then as you grow out from the neighborhoods of the community, they still do police themselves. And I think, give them a chance.
I think also like a simplified application process gives some ownership and accountability to what goes up as well. Whether, even though the city's not policing what actually goes up, I think that it puts some ownership into the hands of
If you're
that.
putting your name on this thing
Right.
and saying, I'm choosing to put this on my building.
Right.
It initiates that relationship and, like you said, the self accountability of I'm letting the city know
Mm-hmm.
I'm owning this.
I think that would be a further discussion on whether we wanted to restrict it into a district or citywide or?
Well, and I feel there has been some hesitation from different community groups and different committees of really like doing outreach for a mural to happen, just because there was this vagueness on, well, where does the city stand? What does our code say? So I feel like we've kind of settled with that option 3 being something we could work towards. Nathan, do you feel like you could bring from this conversation, bring something forward, even if it was just in another working discussion that we could say yes or no to?
Yeah,
Or
I think I could put
specific?
together,
Option 3 was do nothing.
if we kind of like the framework of Dallas's ordinance,
No, it's to have standards that apply to murals, but not anything stringent, just something in our code that gives a mural a definition that isn't underneath a sign.
Were there any more online questions? Did we hit all?
A comment, for example, murals can be made in approved places, but only as advertising Amity as a town, no. The other thing about online and the chat is it can be used for giving a public comment, but we're actually can't converse with people that are giving public comments. It's for council discussion.
Okay.
Anything else that you would want direction wise from council?
I don't think so. I think that was most things. I mean, I can plagiarize. I can copy Dallas's code pretty easily, right? And I think he's already shared the ordinance with me. So yeah,
Interpretation is a theory form platter.
that's right. And so I could have a version for Amity relatively easily.
I mean, Dallas has 10 times our population, so if they're not having a hard time with it, I really doubt we're gonna have a hard time.
You never know, we might have some raging artists.
And it might not be obvious if they are having a problem with it or not within the city of Dallas, but the city of Dallas itself is not having the problem. So,
I don't know. I'm really excited about it. I'd love to see like maybe some high school students paint something on them. If you get somebody to go along or.
The
I mean,
tourism committee has big plans.
Yeah, I mean, there seems like there's some really cool opportunity there. I'd like to see some go up.
And we've talked, I don't know who's been on council this long, but Mike had told us previously, a mural came up quite a few years ago and the curtain business on Trade was always open to having a mural painted on their side.
It's a perfect spot.
Yeah.
Well, they used to have a dragon on there, didn't they?
Yeah.
Didn't
Yeah, they did.
Bring the dragon back.
was it a long time ago?
It's probably 20 years. It was
Oh.
when I was in high school. Yeah.
If there's no further discussion or needs from this Mural Code discussion, we can move on to open forum and discussion from mayor and city councilors. Mayor's comments first. I do not have much to add except for upcoming before our next council meeting tomorrow. We have council staff barbecue at 5:30. Council staff barbecue tomorrow at 5:30 at the Amity City Park.
Okay.
Um,
I forgot about that.
can we re-email out the barbecue thing? Just with, so the details are in front of everyone. And then movie in the park is happening August 28th.
What's the movie? I
Turbo.
didn't tell me this.
Turbo.
Turbo. And so we'll start the movie
Snail go fast.
at dusk. I'm guessing this time of year we'll need to get there 7:30 or 8 for setup. But we would welcome anyone who is able to volunteer, be there, or stay up that late. Always helpful. I didn't bring notes, so off the top of my head, that's what I got for you. We'll move on to Counselor Shields. Do you have anything infrastructure related or otherwise?
I do not.
Counselor Bojorquez, do you have anything community engagement or otherwise?
You covered what I was going to talk about.
Counselor Thompson, do you have anything parks or otherwise?
We cover the park trees, so I don't have anything else.
Okay. Counselor Michael Blanco, do you have anything for the good of the order?
Not
Counselor Luker, do you have anything for the good of the order?
Nothing to add.
And Counselor Rachel Blanco, anything for the good of the order?
Nope.
Okay, with that, I will ask for a final motion of the evening.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
I have a motion and enthusiastic second. All those in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Meeting adjourned at 7:43.